What's going on, everybody? Today we're looking at a pretty mixed day, and it's the same story for the Bitcoin miners. Some are up right now, some are down right now. The positive is on the green days we're getting these massive nice green days, and on the red days we're getting these like 1% pullbacks. If this continues over the rest of this month, the Bitcoin miners will be looking very good. And just quickly glancing at some names on my list here, you'll see we are relatively mixed. For the most part red, but there is a bit of green. And who knows, if Bitcoin keeps its momentum, if Bitcoin holds over its descending trend line, which I'm going to show you in a second, we might end this week very strong. Now, we do have some potentially negative news I want to talk about for Bitcoin. We have news that Tesla is moving around their Bitcoin. And I don't know if you guys remember last cycle, but no one seems to really talk about this or remember. But in my opinion, at least, last cycle, Bitcoin's moves were heavily reliant on Tesla, what they were doing, were they buying, were they selling. On the news that they bought Bitcoin, I remember Bitcoin pumping from around 20 to 30,000 all the way towards all-time high. And towards the end of that cycle, they announced that they sold, and that basically accelerated the sell-off. And then soon after that was all the FTX drama that pretty much overshadowed everything else about that cycle that was negative, at least. Is this going to really affect the market? Possibly to some extent, at least on the short term. But in reality, you know, this is $760 million. And while that negative news is going on, what's going on with the spot Bitcoin ETFs? They reached 20 billion, so a little over 20 times what Tesla could potentially sell, much more than 20 times. And this is all since January. And according to Eric Balchunas, this is the most important number to break. Bitcoin ETFs have crossed 20 billion in total net flows, the most important number, most difficult metric to grow in ETF world, for the first time after a huge week of 1.5 billion. And it took the spot Bitcoin ETFs about 10 months to reach this milestone. How long did it take gold? Well, it took gold about 5 years to cross this milestone. And looking at how the spot Bitcoin ETFs have performed recently, what have we been seeing? We have been seeing literally just inflows. The 14th, 15th, 16th, nothing but inflow. Even GBTC either saw inflows or no flows. Their last sell day, their last outflow day was October 11 with a $22 million sell. Before that was $9 million worth of outflows on October 8, $13 million of outflows on October 4, and about $6 million of outflows on October 1. You can see that the GBTC grayscale selling is all but diminished now. We will likely no longer see these huge, like multiple hundreds of $1 million in outflow days. People in those funds have shifted around, gone for the other funds with lower fees, and I think the exodus for that for the most part is over. It is behind us. Now let's see what happened on both of the last halving years, 2020 and 2016. From October to the end of the year, we did see green, nothing but green, a 14% month in October, a 5.5% month in November, and it ended the year with a 30% month back in 2016. 2020, we saw a 27%, a 43% nearly, and a 45%. That is insane. I don't think we will see something like that. But could each month in the end of this year be a good green month? I do think so. I do think we will end this year at a new all-time high. We have 2 resistances left. And we have broke one of our resistances. We had 3 just the other day. This descending trend. And if you zoom in on a closer time frame, it does show that we came down, tested it, and bounced. Now it's a matter of breaking this roughly $69,000 area, this green line. We found resistance a little bit under it. We just kind of petered out here at about 68.5 almost. So next is a break of this high here, a break of 69,000, and then we go on to take our all-time high out at 74,000 roughly. These are the 2 resistances left, 2 major resistances left, and we are back to the races. We are back to that rally again. One thing to realize is we might be due to cool down a little bit more, retrace, you know, make sure that these previous zones do hold up. We were getting some bearish divergences. You'll see the RSI topped out here, but the price kept going up while the RSI was cooling down. This is just the 1 hour. But besides those 2 resistances, those major resistances we have to break out of, I'm also watching the 50 and 200 MA, and they are getting very close to flipping as long as we don't lose all progress here. If we just sell off here, I think it's unlikely that they'll cross. But if we can keep our momentum, maybe trade sideways a bit, start trying to push back over that 69,000, we will see this 50 and 200 MA cross. It may actually be before a break of all-time high. Depends on if we pump a lot. If we just pump a lot, of course, we'll hit that all-time high first, then after will come the golden cross. But in my opinion, the golden cross is coming within days to a few weeks, probably in October. From here, we need under a 10% move to break all-time high. That is not a lot. Bitcoin can do this in days. It's just a matter of the market allowing it. It's a matter of seeing those overall buyers in Bitcoin. One thing to realize is with this recent move up, we are approaching more towards greed. We are getting towards the higher end, but there is more room to run if the market allows it. We just exited fear. In my opinion, retail sentiment is still pretty bad. Retail sentiment is starting to shift though. You're starting to get more positivity, starting to get a little bit of optimism in retail's eyes. And this is exactly what we want. But make no mistake, the whales are loading up. The whales are buying right now. They know what's coming. Institutional wallets have accumulated 67,000 Bitcoin in the last 30 days, bringing their total holdings to almost 4 million Bitcoin. This is a huge percentage of the overall supply. I don't see this slowing down anytime soon. I think the whales are going to keep buying. They know what's approaching. They know 2025 will be that top year. The whales know how to look back in a chart too. The whales know how to follow the halving cycles. But hopefully you guys are taking advantage of a day like this, a little bit of a red day. We aren't going to get many of them in my opinion. Once we start running up, then suddenly people are asking, should I buy now? No one is asking, should I buy when things are at their lows? If anything, people are more worried about selling. Should I sell and stop this bleeding? Should I stop this pain? In my opinion, retail, most of us, we need to flip our perception. We need to change our stance. We need to be bullish when things are going down, when things are low, when there is mass fear, and we need to be bearish when there is a ton of hype, when there is a ton of FOMO, when everyone is saying things are going much higher. That is when you need to reassess. But in my opinion, simply follow the cycle. Be ready to trim throughout 2025. Don't just try to time the top and snipe it, but sell while times are good. Or simply just DCA Bitcoin, buy and hold, buy and hold. Cycle to cycle, we will not see lows of previous cycles. So keep that in mind when you're looking to re-enter Bitcoin. There are going to be times where we will not see some of these prices. The $15,000 of last cycle, we will probably never see again. So keep that in mind when you are looking to get back into Bitcoin. Sometimes it is better to just simply buy and hold, knowing that 10 years from now, these prices will likely never be touched by Bitcoin. Bitcoin could be $500,000 a decade from now. The same thing people were probably talking about back at 10,000. We're never going to see a sub $10,000 Bitcoin ever again. And we didn't see that last cycle. So follow Bitcoin on the long term. It will continue to appreciate in price because of the halving cycles, because Bitcoin supply gets cut in half. As long as demand does not completely drop off a cliff, as long as demand stays at somewhat of a constant, price has to accommodate the decreasing incoming supply. That is the magic of Bitcoin. It will go up in price in perpetuity. But let me know what you guys are taking advantage of today. Today is definitely a good day to be buying. Some last second buying in my opinion. You don't want to be chasing in 2025. You don't want to be buying these Bitcoin miners after they have already more than 10x from their bear market lows. You don't want to be buying Bitcoin if it's 120,000 to 150,000 late in the end of next year. That is when you want to be trimming. But let me know what your guys' plans are. When do you plan to sell Bitcoin, if at all? When do you plan to sell the Bitcoin miners? Thanks as always for watching, guys, and I'll see you on the next one.